Hi, I'm Kathy Quinn with Floriani, and welcome to our construction portion of our Project of the Month. This is March Projects of the Month, and it is our Jump Drive bag. As you'll notice on our pictures here, we have the outside of the bag is going to have a monogram on it, and the inside of the bag will have the zippered compartment as well as the slots to put in your jump drives. First, we need to press and starch our fabric. I always press and starch my fabric because it stitches better on it. It also, if I need to mark it or anything, I never have to worry about the blue marks being left on my fabric. Now we are going to have two contrasting fabrics. I have chosen the floral for the inside of my bag, and I have selected a coordinating print for the outside, but one that is not so busy that my monogram will not show up on it. So I will starch and press. I need to cut out the pieces. I'm first going to cut the pieces for the inside of my bag. I'm going to cut out a 2.5 by 5 inch piece for the top, a 6.5 by 5 inch piece for the bottom half. I'm going to cut out a 5 by 8 inch piece for my lining, and I will cut a 5 by 5 inch piece to fold in half for my pocket. I will also cut out a 5 by 8 inch piece of my outside fabric and a 5 by 8 inch piece of my fusible fleece lining. We are going to now fuse our fusible fleece to the back of our outside fabric. I will line them up and I will press very well, letting my iron set for a few seconds so that I have a good solid fuse. I will now take my hoop up my Floriani's Perfect Stick. I will score the paper. I happen to use a stiletto, and I will now pull my paper away from the inside of the hoop, and this will leave me with a silicone-based adhesive on top that I can stick my fabric down to and it won't shift or move. I chose Floriani's Perfect Stick because it is partially water soluble and partially fiber. That is the base of this product, because I'm going to be stitching out a monogram, and it is going to be a satin stitch, and I want to be able to pull this away very easily from around my monogram without stressing any of my stitches. I am going to stitch my first design out. I'm going to bring up the monogram design that we have created, and we are going to stitch out the first color on it, which is our placement line, and we will stitch that directly onto the stabilizer, as you can see it here in the picture. Then I will take my fabric with my fleece on it, and I am now going to lay that exactly within that placement line and stick it down. I will top it with our Floriani's Heat and Gone to stitch out my design, and I chose Heat and Gone because this may be a gift and I might not want to rinse out any residue of a water-soluble topping. So with my Heat and Gone, I will be able to tear it away from around my design, and then any residue that's left, I can take my iron and I can touch it directly, the sole of the iron directly to my Heat and Gone, and it will vaporize instantly. It will go away from around my design and in any nooks and crannies. I'm going to take my 2.5 inch piece by 5 inches and my 6.5 inch piece by 5 inches, and I am going to turn down the top edge 1/2 inch and press that down. So I'm pressing the pocket now. I'm going to fold it in half, my 5 by 5 inch piece. I will fold it in half and I will press that in half. So I'm ready to start the construction on the inside of my bag. I'm going to hoop my Floriani medium tearaway stabilizer in the hoop that's the appropriate size for my design. I am now going to stitch out color number 1, which is my placement line, and this will stitch out directly on our stabilizer. I have an outside placement line, and you'll notice I have a line across. That is for my zipper placement. That is the center. My center of my zipper will be centered over this line. I'm going to remove my hoop from my machine. I am going to go to my cutting board, and with a pencil, I am going to extend that zipper placement line out to the edges of my hoop to make it easy to put my zipper down along that line. So I will now center my zipper. I will center the teeth on top of that placement line, and I'll take a piece of Scotch tape and tape down either outside my placement lines or just inside. We don't want to stitch through the tape because then it will be hard to remove from our project. I will now stitch out color 2, which is going to stitch my zipper down to my stabilizer so it won't shift or move around. I will remove the tape after I have stitched out color number 2 because I no longer need it to hold the zipper. We will take our 2.5 by 5 inch piece, and with the folded edge, I'm going to put that right along my zipper teeth. Do not cover your teeth or you will not be able to zip and unzip your project. So put it right next to the teeth, and then we are going to stitch out color number 3. Now this is a triple stitch, so it's going to stitch across and make it very solid, holding on to that zipper, so when we have a lot of use, it won't pull loose. We're going to now place the bottom fabric with the folded edge next to the zipper, just like we did on the top, and we are going to stitch color number 4. I'm going to remove my hoop from the machine. I'm going to leave everything that's stitched to it on the inside, but I'm going to turn it to the back, and I'm going to spray inside those placement lines with an adhesive spray. I happen to use Sulky's KK2000. I recommend highly that you take your hoop outside to spray this. The spray is not good for you to breathe it, but you are going to spray the back of this hoop. We are now going to take our lining fabric, that is one of our 5 by 8 inch pieces, and we are going to stick it to the back of our hoop right side down, so the wrong side will be looking at you. With that stuck to the hoop, and very carefully, we are going to go back to our machine and slide it back on, making sure your top fabric is smooth and inside the placement lines, and that your back fabric is nice and flat on the back. Now we're going to stitch our center seam, and this will stitch our center seam down through the lining, so we now have a bottom to our zipper pocket, because without this center seam, if I unzip that zipper, anything I put in there is going to fall to the very bottom of the bag. So I want to end my pocket in the center. So I will stitch color number 5, and again we are going to stitch a center seam with a triple stitch. Now, making sure our fabric is flat, I want you to stitch out color number 6 along the bottom edge. This is just to tack this down so the fabric doesn't get floppy or fold up or anything happen. We're just going to use this as a little placement line to hold all of our fabric together. I am now going to place my pocket. I've got the folded edge at the top, and I'm going to match the raw edge at the bottom right inside my placement lines. I will lay that down, and now we will stitch out color number 7, and this will stitch the partition lines in our bag so we can slide our jump drive in those 3 little pockets we are creating. So here you can see with our center line stitched, and I want you to stop. Unzip that zipper to the center of the bag. If you do not unzip your zipper right now, what is going to happen is when you stitch your back to your front, right sides together, you are going to stitch it closed with the zipper head outside your seam line. So we want to make sure our zipper is unzipped to the middle. I am now going to take my monogrammed outside of my bag that we have created and set aside. We are going to lay it on top, matching up those placement lines. Now this is very important that we have done this. We've matched these up so that we know that our monogram will be centered in the bottom center of that bag. Now I would recommend, if you'll notice right now, we have our monogram at the bottom. If you would like your monogram to be on the other side of your bag, turn this around and put the monogram up by the zippered end. Either way will work just fine, but I think I would like to turn it around and put my monogram up at the top. We are going to stitch out color 8, and this is going to complete our design. Notice that at the bottom we have stitched a straight stitch, and then we have started our turning around. We did that so that we have a good secure opening to turn this bag through. I want you to remove your design from the hoop, and you're going to pull away your stabilizer, cleaning it out of your monogram as well as from around your bag. We are next going to trim, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we will be cutting off our zipper as well. Now we're going to, of course, clip our corners, clip into our little inside corners, and we are now going to turn this bag through the opening we have left. I want you to then unzip your zipper, pull out all the stabilizer on the inside because you can clean the tearaway, medium tearaway out of that pocket. Make sure you push out all your corners and press. Always press your work. Once the stabilizer has been removed, it's turned and pressed. I want you folding in that little opening that we turned through. I want you to take your machine and I want you to top stitch around the entire edge of this bag. It gives it a nice finished look as well as closing our opening. We will then take a snap and add it to the top center and the bottom center of our bag so that we have a way to snap our little bag shut. We now have a completed bag, and you've completed your first bag in the hoop. Now that you have done this, you have created this in your software. Just think of all the things you can now do. You can create all of these bags. You can create one that maybe is for credit cards, one with 2 zippers. Now you have the skills and the understanding in your software to do your own in the hoop projects. I want to thank you for coming this month to our Project of the Month, and I sure hope I see you again next month. Thank you so much.